Hello apes around the world. Quick update video for you today. While I personally have no issue with AMC apes, I am personally 100% all in on GME. In saying that, I do believe that apes together strong. So the purpose of this video is not to bash anyone, but instead to highlight something for discussion purposes only. In the past, I've done DD into Michael Milken and his connections behind the scenes to all parties involved in meme stock shorting. This DD also goes into detail about Michael Milken's past, his conviction for violating securities law, and how he has revamped his image in the finance industry through the Milken Institute after his pardon by Donald Trump. I've also highlighted his connection to Ken Griffin and his ongoing strategic partnership with CITADEL Securities. I've included a link in the description below for further reading. It somewhat surprised me today then, to learn that Charlie Gasparino of Fox News said he stumbled across Adam Aron, the CEO of AMC at the Milken Institute, where he managed to grab an interview with him. Hang on a second. So the CEO of AMC, a company that is right in the middle of the meme stock saga, and possibly one of the potential short squeezes going to come out of the MOAS, a situation that on the opposing side of the table is CITADEL Securities, was asked to speak at an event that is sponsored by CITADEL Securities, held by a company that has a long-term strategic partnership with CITADEL Securities. Is it just me, or does anyone find that a bit suspicious? I mean, attending an event means nothing, of course. Lots of people speak at these. But would you speak at an event that is sponsored by your sworn enemy? The topic of the talk was a town hall meeting on taming the social media beast. And of course, this is highly relevant for Adam Aron, with his newfound ape following. So there is nothing wrong with the context of the content he is expressing, but I do still want to ask you this question. Do you think Adam Aron should be speaking at a CITADEL Securities sponsored event, or does it not matter at all? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and remember AMC apes. I love you guys. I'll play for you a snippet from the talk now, and I've included a link in the description to the full talk. Have a great day and don't forget to subscribe.
Please join us now for the Town Hall on Taming the Social Media Beast, moderated by Frank Luntz.
The voice of God sounds like someone who works for the Milken Institute, so I never knew that before. Welcome, everybody. It's interesting that the people all sat on the far left and the far right, and only a few people in the center. Ladies and gentlemen, the United States of America. And no, that's not something to applaud. That's the reason why I left the United States of America about 6 months ago. I have to be very careful because we are being live streamed. So for the rest of us, it won't make a big deal. For the congressman, it's been nice knowing you. Good luck in your re-election campaign. I want to begin this by putting some data out. And this is going to be a very lively conversation. And in fact, I get to stand up and even get to come down there. I don't know an issue that's more important right now. I don't know an issue that's more significant. We were talking about about the impact of social media before we came up here, but I want to show you several pieces of data that we just did within the last 2 weeks for the de Beaumont Foundation, because if anything makes the case about why this really matters, I think this does. Can we go to the next slide, please? We wanted to ask the public about the different conspiracy theories. We wanted to know from them, what did they believe? And if we can go to the next slide, please. These are the first 5. We asked them whether they agree or disagree, and the numbers that you see in front of you are the strongly agrees. These are not people who gently think that this is the case. This is strongly agree. These are 5 examples of conspiracy theories. The total column is for the entire country. 3,300 interviews. The margin of error is nothing. And 1 out of 4 Americans think Fauci is engaged in a cover-up, or that the government isn't telling people how many people are truly infected with the coronavirus. But the column next to is the one I want to point your attention to. These are people who are sharing information from the web daily. They're using their credibility, their relationships, to take the information that they're getting and sharing it with other people. And in every single case, there's at least a 10-point increase in the level of people who strongly agree if you're sharing social media daily. And if you can go to the next slide, Twice as many people think that scientists are expressing doubt secretly about the safety and effectiveness of COVID. Twice as many people think that scientists believe that herd immunity is better than the vaccines. Twice as many people think that will alter your DNA. Almost 3 times as many people who are sharing content on the web believe that the COVID vaccine would make people infertile and unable to have kids. This was just done. This was just done within the past 3 weeks. And if you are sharing information from social media, you are 3 times, in this case, more likely to believe these myths. So this scares me. Should it? And I'm going to open it up to any of you as the opening question. I look at conspiracy theories, and the purpose of this survey was to actually prove it, not to make suppositions. And actually, I'm supposed to do introductions, so each one of you, you get 15 seconds, tell them who you are. Congressman?
Frank Luntz is a constituent, and I'm Congressman Ted Lieu.
And I'm a proud constituent, by the way. Karen?
I'm a former U.S. ambassador, and I run something called the Digital Innovation and Democracy Initiative.
I'm Tristan Harris, and co-founder of the Center for Humane Technology, a nonprofit that works on these issues and was in the film The Social Dilemma, for those who might know.
And an Emmy Award winner. This is the only time I ever get a chance to appear. I asked him to bring it because I wanted you to see it. I wanted to be the first person ever at Milken to hold up an Emmy Award. And at least your election, the loser did not claim that they actually won the Emmy Award and did not complain for the next year that they were actually robbed and the election was stolen from them. Not that I have anyone in particular mind there.
Hello, everybody. I'm Adam Aron. I'm the chairman and CEO of AMC Entertainment, largest movie theater company in the world, and I tweet every day.
Get out. Okay, should this data scare us? Should we be nervous that if you're sharing social media with others, that you are twice as likely or even more to believe in these conspiracies?
I mean, I'm scared, and I think that we're silly not to. You know, people who have been following what's been going on in terms of spreading of conspiracy theories and foreign interference were not as surprised as others about January 6th because they saw genocide in Myanmar, and they saw what happened to Estonia before it happened in the US with Russian disinformation. So, you know, I'm scared about where this is headed, and you know, when the whole news environment is being shaped for people, you can say it's their choice, it is their choice, but they're having, the civic information they need to be good citizens is being drowned out by disinformation. And there's it's not just, I mean, democracy it's really important for democracy, but also we're seeing our most vulnerable citizens being hurt. So young girls, the Facebook whistleblower talked about what happens to young girls on Instagram. I was just talking to 2 mothers of teenagers. The principal had to send out a note to the high school saying that there was a TikTok challenge convincing girls to cut themselves.
Should we be scared, Congressman?
So I agree that social media is a problem. I don't think it is their problem. If you look at the Nazi rise to power, they did that without the benefit of the internet or Facebook. The Jonestown massacre happened without YouTube videos. It's true that social media has a lot of disinformation, for example, on vaccines. You can also listen to right-wing talk radio. You can look at OAN and Newsmax, who routinely puts out disinformation on vaccines. And then if you look at social media, there's a high distributed amount of content that's racist. Or you can watch Tucker Carlson on primetime TV on weeknights. Okay. Remember that march in Charlottesville?
I got to be careful about Tucker Carlson because he doesn't like me to begin with, and he's already done these 17-minute profiles of me. So I'm going to give you cash right now, not to mention his name for the rest of this discussion.
So on a certain Fox primetime news segment at night, remember the march in Charlottesville where they talk about the Jews would not replace us? You've got a primetime host on national TV talking about the white supremacist replacement theory. So this problem is way beyond just social media. I just want folks to understand that.
So I'm going to ask you all a question now because this is a town hall. So it's meant to give you the opportunity to speak. I've got baby wipes over there. I've got a microphone that's going to go around. So if you guys want to voice your point of view or ask a question, you're going to be able to immediately. But I want 2 questions for you all as an audience, and I want the camera to capture you guys, not me. How many of you, first off, how many of you use social media for information on average once a day or more? Raise your hands. Once a day or more. Okay, so it is less than half. How many of you have kids who use social media once a day or more? Raise your hands. Does any of you have kids who do not use social media at all? 1, 2, wow.
Wow.
Well,
You guys are mean parents. They're too young? How old are they? 6 years old? 7? I will be at your house tonight. This group uses social media a little bit less. You use it a lot. You tweet every single day. So you obviously have something positive to say about it.
I do, and I understand why this conversation is quickly going to turn to what problems are arising from this new means and new tool of communication. And there are problems, and I'm glad that people will focus on what is wrong and what needs to be fixed or repaired. But my focus is on how powerful the medium is. I started tweeting in April, not for the first time in my life, but actively now. And my tweets have been read about 130 million times since April, and it's a free communications vehicle. Where else can we talk as a CEO of a sitting public company? Where else can we talk to people 130 million times and convey information and have that communication be literally at no cost to us? So it's a remarkably powerful tool, and if you use it well, you can benefit greatly, and if you use it badly, obviously people could be hurt.
So why not leave it alone? If he knows how to use it, just let it, and people have to judge what is accurate and what is not. Why is this such an urgent situation right now when clearly it helps his company and helps him communicate to millions of people across the globe?
I think it's important to acknowledge all of the good things that have ever come from social media and whatever wins of people discovering their high school sweethearts or people being able to message each other, reach many more people than they ever could have. The question is, when you have a brain implant in a patient, and every occasional time there's a neuron that fires off and it delivers some great benefit, but for the whole brain, if it makes that whole brain as a collective go crazy and divide the brain against itself, which is what social media is doing to our society, it's incompatible with democracy. I want to be very forceful in saying I believe there's no compatibility between an AI pointed at your brain every day with $1 trillion of compute power, so that when you scroll, the way it figures out the next thing to show you is by calculating the next fault line in society that's going to be good for getting attention. And if you do that and you put at the center of attention of any democracy the next fault line, the next wound in your society, and put that at the center, while you gut the fourth estate, because the other part of the business model is it guts the fourth estate. We know from the founding fathers you can't have a democracy if you don't have shared sense making. And if it guts the fourth estate while also breaking shared reality, so one of the things we say is that Facebook's business model is ruining Thanksgiving dinner, because their business model is making sure that each person gets their own tailored AI-curated Truman Show.
Is it ruining Election Day?
What do you mean?
Is Facebook ruining Election Day? You say it's incompatible with democracy. Is Facebook ruining Election Day?
I wouldn't frame it. I think it ruins elections far upstream from the actual election day, right? Where people are dosed hours a day with basically the most high conflict things in society. So one of the things that the Facebook whistleblower, Frances Haugen, showed and by the way, the story about the Facebook whistleblower isn't about the Facebook whistleblower. Just to be really clear, it's about Facebook's own research showing what they knew about specifically, I'll give you an example, how it made political parties more divisive. So I'll just tell a quick story. Facebook's own documents showed that across Europe, many political parties said, Facebook, we know you changed your algorithm in 2018. Facebook says, oh yeah, everybody has a conspiracy theory about how we changed our system. What's your conspiracy theory? They said, no, we know you changed it because we used to be able to publish a white paper about what our agriculture policy would be, and we would get attention for that. And now, we only get attention after you changed it when we say negative things about the other political parties. And we know that's bad and we don't want to do that, but we only get elected when we outgroup the other political parties.
Okay.
And so you do that across all these different countries at once, and it breaks. You cannot have a democracy where the business model of every political leader is outgrouping the other side constantly. And just to the congressman's point, it's also upstream from partisan television, because how many times when Tucker Carlson or Rachel Maddow and MSNBC...
Again with the Tucker Carlson. You realize you're going to get me like a whole lot of shit.
We'll focus on anyone, MSNBC, Rachel Maddow. How many people, when she's doing what she's doing, is she doing that for the number of people who are tuned in that moment, or is she generating clips that are going to be downstream on social media? More of her audience, increasingly, is going to be downstream on social media, all the clips. I was talking with Trevor Noah from The Daily Show, and he said, yeah.
So I want to go on.
Yeah, go on.
And ask you, and by the way, this is a town hall, which means in about 3 minutes, I've got a microphone and a wipe, and anyone who wants to make a comment or interact, I really want to come out and I want to get your reaction to it. I acknowledged, and I'm looking at myself right now, and I can see my waistline, and you have no idea how horrible it is that I'm looking at myself, and I see that I'm still fat. I was miserable because I weighed 238 pounds, and I lost at the time 65 pounds. And I said on Twitter that I can't do this anymore, that I'm hungry all the time, I'm tired all the time, I can't do it, and make fun of me, but I'm gonna be fat, so you can go ahead and make fun of my clothing. By the way, you should take a look at the shirt if you get a chance, because I know that if you look at it, it says Team Putin, that someone's gonna write on Twitter or something that I'm supporting the Russians. It's why I wore this shirt. I told people that I'd lost weight, and I got hundreds of comments saying hang in there, and not a single negative comment, not one. Anything I tweet that has the word Republican, Democrat, Trump, Biden, anything, is at least 40% negative, maybe 50 or 60%. I didn't use any of those names, and not a single negative comment. Is there some algorithm that's causing that? Because the same people who hated me if I talk politics are being nice to me because I talk about losing weight?
So I think this is the only industry where we think it's totally binary, that we're going to have it or not have it. There's a lot that's amazing about social media. You know, it has given rise to these movements like Me Too, and even Black Lives Matter was amplified by Twitter and by social media in general. But there's no reason we can't have the good and modify the bad. We have, not that cars are so great, but we have cars, but they have seatbelts and they have fuel economy rules. I mean, we live in a society where we have things, but we set guardrails so that we don't have to have the bad things with the good wings. Social media is the only place where we all say, oh my God, if the government does anything. Now there's a good reason for that, and the congressman's right. The First Amendment, we want to preserve free expression, and this is a medium where speech is incredibly important. But one of the things that the whistleblowers showed really clearly is that a lot of the problems are upstream from speech. It's the algorithms, it's the processes, it's the design of the social media, and that these companies are really not, they're caring more about their bottom line than they are about the ill effects, which, you know, they're corporate leaders. That's to be expected of them, but I think the government has an obligation to set those guardrails.
Okay, so each of you tell me, what is the single most important principle? If I'm trying to figure out how to govern, how to regulate, how to use, what should be the most important principle when we discuss social media? Is it freedom of speech and expression? Is it social responsibility? Is it accuracy? Each one of you, I'm going to ask, and I'll go down the line, what is the most important principle that we should protect beyond all others as we focus on social media?
I'm not sure there's a single principle. I think there's different areas that you could look at regulation.
What's your highest priority?
You mentioned elections, so I'll say elections. And there is actually legislation to talk about that. So if you were to see an ad on TV, for example, from a federal official, it'll end with something like, and I'm Ted Lieu and I approve this ad. That doesn't happen with social media ads. But there is legislation called the Honest Ads Act that I support. It was inserted into HR 1, I voted for it. And on social media ads, there will be a disclosure of who paid for it. So next time you see some ad that says Donald Trump's a great person, it'll say paid for by the Kremlin. So that's the difference.
Hey, I do the jokes here. What's the highest priority? You can't pick multiple,
Right.
just one.
So I guess what I'd focus on is not this isn't the goal I want, but this is the means. I want that kind of transparency. Right now, people are manipulated online because they don't know where the information is coming from, they don't know who's paying for it, they don't know the cause of it. The power of this whistleblower was that she was leaking a whole bunch of data that we can't get access to. You know, if an airplane crashes, there's a black box flight data recorders. You can find out why the plane crashed. The EPA gets data on polluters. The FDA gets data from drug companies. We have no data on these social media platforms where our elections are happening, where our kids are spending all their time. So I think the first thing that I would want is the transparency that makes it harder to do the manipulation.
Okay, two good answers. Your highest priority?
So I just want to agree with Karen. I think transparency and accountability is table stakes. We have to have that, and people like Nate Persili's is a researcher at Stanford. We should support that. Where I get concerned is the principle I would want to optimize for is if technology is changing society faster than the governance ability to capture or understand what's happening and also tweak it. Like if you think about it, if COVID is moving through your immune system faster than your immune system is able to see what's happening, it's going to kill you because it's got faster OODA loops than your immune system. Right now, technology is evolving and shaping society across 1 million balance sheets faster than any of the governance capacity. And that's the first derivative changes. So for example, people worry about yesterday's misinformation issues. We're about to live in a world with GPT-3. How many people here know what GPT-3 is? How many people here have heard of deepfakes? More. So GPT-3 deepfakes are very similar. It's a technology that allows you to say, I want you to generate human-generated text that passes the Turing test, that looks just like a human, and I want you to generate a 20-page research paper about why the vaccine is not safe, using real facts, with real graphs and real charts. I want you to point out the vested interests of everybody who said the vaccine is safe, and I want you to name the logical fallacies in the people who are saying the vaccine is safe. And it will generate a 20-page paper that'll take biostatisticians a year to try to decode what that paper said. And then I flood the internet with papers like that, right? Technology is generating capacities in society faster than we have a governance capacity to solve it. So we're talking about and comparing partisan TV to whether a click post. Facebook is adjusting features in their products every day, right? They didn't always have live video. Live video is going to influence society faster. So as they're changing the products, as they're changing the features, as people are generating these new capacities, the principle I would optimize for is the OODA loops of governance has to be faster than the OODA loops of technology's impact on society.
Your question is, what's the single most important priority? In my mind, it's the preservation of social media itself. And I say that, I'm a capitalist. I believe in the capitalist system. I don't believe in unfettered capitalism. I think capitalism works best when it's regulated. If there are things that are wrong with social media, then I hope that those in authority, including the congressman, then step in and regulate it as appropriate. But when that is done, and that'll be good if that happens, problems that they're identifying get addressed. But as that's done, let's not forget this is the most powerful communication tool that has ever been developed in the history of mankind. And we shouldn't destroy it as we regulate it. We should try to corral it as need be, but recognize that there's enormous information and communication that can flow between humans the world over because this thing happened over the past couple of decades.
I do want to add, because this is the Milken Global Conference, and we're going to talk about this tomorrow at 10 a.m. in this room, the problem with the word capitalism. Capitalism to too many people represents Wall Street rather than Main Street. It represents the employer rather than the employee. It represents success rather than those working their way up. That I urge you all to use economic freedom rather than capitalism. It is not an insignificant distinction. It really does matter, particularly for people in this room.